I was wondering if the activity could be comparing events in the text to like experiences you've had.
Absolutely.
If that's where we could bring in the background knowledge, because in our class, I mean, we practice that kind of higher level questioning. So maybe if we went that way.
Absolutely. And would that be like a topic you'd want them discussing in their literature circles anyway?
Yeah,
like,
it would be. Yeah,
okay, it would blend
definitely
into your whole class instruction. And then,
yeah.
so some of the language you might end up teaching then is compare and contrast language.
Reading group, there's a few things you're going to need. You will need your blue reflection sheet that you're using for your book club discussion this week. Because remember, you're comparing and contrasting this week. You're comparing yourself and contrasting yourself with the main character of the book. You're going to need something to write with. And you're going to need a copy of your book. So, before you get those things out, I want to, would you turn to look this way just for a minute? One other piece that you're going to use right now that's a little different than what we've done before is sticky notes. And there are some piles of sticky notes on your desks. You're going to use those to find passages in the book that relate to the discussion this week. So if I'm doing the book Copper Sun, I want to compare and contrast myself with the main character, Amari. So I might look through the book and see that like on page 20, it talks about how Amari lives in Africa. Well, that's a difference. I live in the United States. So I might take a sticky note and mark that page. I might even make a little note to myself on the back of my blue page. Like, okay, page 20, it talks about this quote. If you run out of sticky notes, another thing you could do is take these and you could just kind of rip them down and make them a little bit smaller if you need to, okay? So that's something new that you're going to be doing. When you get into your book groups, you're going to be reading, but also as you read, you're going to be looking for those passages that relate to the discussion prompt this week, compare, contrast.
Character, compare and contrast the main character with yourself. How are you alike and how?
Hey, nice job moving to your groups. One more reminder, I just wanted to check in. You can be using this time to read and get ahead in your book if you need to. And mark passages. We talked about how I would maybe be working with some groups, and also you've seen that we're filming today as well. So I might be checking in with some groups more than others, and I'm kind of counting on you to monitor yourself as you're doing this, okay? So you're reading and finding those passages that relate. Okay? All right, so I wanted to check in with you all about your book, The Distance Between Us, and I brought this over here.
Okay.
So today there's a few kind of tips and strategies I wanted to look at for comparing and contrasting ourselves with the main character. And I made a little handout that I want to show you that's going to help with this. So go ahead and take one of these. Sure. Who's the main character in The Distance Between Us?
Raina.
Raina. Yeah. So when you're comparing and contrasting yourself with any character, there's certain features that you can compare and contrast with. And you know, a lot of times when you compare and contrast, it'll be between two different characters. But this week, we're comparing and contrasting ourselves with Raina, right? So here's some ways that we can compare and contrast. We can look at age and gender. we can look at Reina's family. Who are some of the family members who she has?
Carlos, Mago, Mommy, Mila, Betty, Abuelita.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait.
Okay.
I can find the person.
So yeah, her family members are really important in this story, definitely. You can also look at Reina's behavior, things that she does. You can look at her personal traits. What's she like? You can look at Reina's physical characteristics. What does she look like? Does she have long hair, short hair? What do you know so far about what she looks like? So, physical characteristics. And then finally, you can look at her actions. So, just off the top of your head, can you think of a few of these things that you would, these features, like how would you describe Reina based on these? What's her family like? What's her behavior like? Can you think of some examples? So would you move down and look at where it says words for comparing? And I'm just going to make a little T-chart here. Words for comparing. And then contrasting. Can you read off the list of comparing words for me?
Like, same, both similar, in common, alike.
And then could you also please share out the words for contrasting?
Unlike, different, yet, but, however, in contrast.
Did I miss any?
No.
Comparing, you missed in contrast. I mean,
However, okay.
in common, you missed for comparing.
Okay, in common, thank you. So, these are some words that you can use to signal to your group, like, hey, I'm sharing things that are similar, or I'm sharing things that are different. These aren't the only words though, right? But these are some of them. So, using these words, I want you to think about how you could compare or contrast characters. Here's an example that I might do. Reina and I are similar in that she has a grandma who's important to her, and I also have a grandma who's important to me. But then I could also contrast. I could say, Reina's grandma is very strict. Her abuelita is very strict. However, my grandma is not very strict. That's the difference. So these words are kind of signaling to my group, like, hey, I'm trying to compare or contrast. Can any of you use some of these words to compare or contrast yourself with Reina? And like what I could do is I could even turn to my list here, my double bubble, and say, okay, we both felt jealous. So I could say, Reina and I are alike because we both felt jealous when this happened.
Yeah.
Or I could say, Reina and I are different because her mom left and went to another country and my mom didn't. So,
And she was born in
let's-
Mexico.
Okay, so can you try to use one of those words to contrast that?
Unlike Reina, I was born in the USA instead of Mexico.
Okay, cool. Let's try another one. Abby, what do you think? Could you do one using like or unlike or same or different?
Dina and me have no.
What part were you going to talk about between the two of you?
That's different or similar.
It's your choice. What do you think?
That we or unlike Raina, I have long hair and she has short hair.
Okay, Philly, can you do one?
Me and Raina are different because her mom left and my mom is here.
Okay, and then Vanessa, can you give it a try?
Me and Raina are different because she had legs and I don't have legs.
Okay, so really good examples. When you meet on Friday with your group, you can use words like this to signal to your group, hey, look, these are similarities or differences. And then I also want to remind you, find evidence from the book, because it's going to be even stronger if you say, like, for example, on this page, and your group can look and
Yeah, how do you feel like the final lesson went, and like how the prep maybe affected this final piece?
yeah, I felt like the final lesson, I was really happy with how much talking was happening.
Yeah.
And I felt like there was more participation that was happening than maybe there would have been otherwise. I was a little bit surprised, though. I was hoping that it would be more focused towards comparing and contrasting, and I didn't see as much of that as I would have expected. There was some prep work that was supposed to be done ahead of time, some homework, and not everyone in the group had done that. So I'm wondering if maybe we had had an extra day, if I would have checked in with the group more before this lesson, if that would have happened or not. So, but yeah, overall, I mean, I'm really happy with the level of discussion.